everyone. I am so excited about this next panel, and just let me give you a reason why. As a marketing leader, I get so many communications. Everything from emails to LinkedIn messages to unsolicited phone calls, and they're all from vendors who are trying to get my attention and get me to interact with them in some way. And some of them, they're all right, and yeah, that might be interesting. And some of them, they're completely off the target, and I'm like, do you not know anything about me? So there is one scenario, though, that I'd like to tell you about. And in this story, it was 2020, and I had someone who reached out to me, and I had just changed jobs. I went from one global organization, and I'd gotten promoted into a VP position in another, and he sent me this awesome email. And in it, he had my LinkedIn post, and he said, hey, I noticed that you just changed jobs. Congratulations, this is awesome. But I know that with every new position, there's always some time to have to rethink what you're doing, and you might be interested in talking to us about some of the areas that we can help you be most successful in with this new position. And so I was just shocked. I had never had anything that personalized come to me before. And as a result, 3 months later, we signed a contract. You know why it took 3 months? Legal. Anyway, nothing against my legal counterparts. I love you guys. But anyway, that said, his authenticity is what really got me, right? He had empathy, he had done the research, he knew who I was, what I was doing, and it made all the difference in the world. He executed that whole experience flawlessly. And I wasn't surprised that he was even promoted after that. So, unfortunately, for most of us, a lot of those experiences are few and far between. To get someone who's actually done that research, who actually is focused and has the time to learn more about you before they reach out, that's not something that is an easy task, and it takes a lot of focus and a lot of work on the teams to do that. So today, we have Kirsten, Alex, and James, and we're going to be talking about how their organizations are adopting AI in their processes to help them to unleash their team's best performance, so that they take away some of those manual issues so they have more opportunity to build a relationship with people like me. So please join me in welcoming them to the stage. It's awesome to have you guys here, and I've got these cards somewhere. Hold on. I feel a little bit like Richard Dawson, but I might be dating myself. I guess it's Steve Harvey now, is that right?
David Letterman, top 10 reasons to use AI.
Right. Right. Well, that's a really good one, Letterman. Yeah, it's been a while. I would like it, if you guys don't mind, for the audience, just to take a minute, talk about it yourself. Tell us, what you do, what your company does, and maybe how long you've been with Outreach.
Perfect. Hey, everyone. I'm Alex Hudzik. I lead global sales development at Box. I've been doing that for about 11 years now. And I've been with Outreach for a while, actually, since 2017. You probably don't know this since you're newer to Outreach, but you're looking at the 2018 Outreach Rookie of the Year right here. Ooh. Yes.
Thank you for being on the panel. That's awesome.
Of course. Happy to be here.
And what does your company do?
Oh, Box. Perfect. Let me get a plug in here. So we are a cloud content platform. So we help companies store, protect, manage all of their unstructured file data. And then obviously, just like every other company, we're helping them to leverage AI to extract the most value out of that data.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And James.
James Terry, I lead the revenue team at Indeed Flex. Indeed Flex is a company that uses technology to be able to reduce the friction in people getting work. So that is connecting job seekers to businesses in a frictionless manner to be able to drive better outcomes through speed, quality, and the consistency of the labor. And I think the reason that I'm such a big Outreach fan, we've been Outreach clients for about 3.5 years now, is because really Outreach does the same thing for sales. It helps connect salespeople to customers or potential customers in a frictionless environment by leveraging technology to do that. It helps salespeople close deals more quickly, have better quality pipeline, and ultimately more consistency in their revenue attainment and their quota attainment. So very excited to have this opportunity to have a discussion.
And I'm Kirsten Huddleston. I run the global programs team supporting sales dev at Databricks. And we are a data analytics and AI company. And I happily inherited Outreach when I joined 3.5 years ago. And it's been a game changer for how my team works as a programs team, how we support sales dev. And fun fact, I actually rolled out high velocity sales at Salesforce. So I was thrilled getting to have Outreach at our fingertips.
Love to hear that. I mean, it's pretty awesome. So you've all started these AI initiatives. I mean, and honestly, in today's market, how do you not? In order to be able to get the kind of cutting edge approach that you need to be able to get to your customers. So what I'd like to know is a little bit about what do you have in regards to the different ways that you're approaching AI in your current initiatives right now. And a little bit later, we'll ask you where you're going next. So Kirsten, do you mind starting?
Yeah, I think top of mind for us is really looking at the early stages of prospecting. That's definitely where the low-hanging fruit is. And what I've kind of seen, regardless of what company you're at, hunters are spending 30 to 50% of their time in those early stages of prospecting. So account prioritization, account research, contact scraping and enrichment, and of course, content generation. So that's a big chunk of their time. And I think one thing I don't hear talked about as much is how you repurpose that time. So if you save 50% of their day, that's great. But it's not a light switch, right? You have to proactively reinvest that time and direct how they're repurposing it.
That's wonderful. Now, one of the things you're considering doing is some AI agent-specific types of activities. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. So I think some pro tips on that is I've given them names. It makes it easier when you're troubleshooting or talking to people about what's broken or what needs a tweak. I think another learning I've had
What are some of the names?
You know, it's funny. My PM named them, and I was asking her, and it's all of her family pets. Leo and Lucy and
Love
Edna.
that.
Classic names. But yeah, another pro tip is like bring IT and legal in as soon as possible. That's time consuming. It's beyond your control. They're going to have their own sprint model. So getting it on their radar as soon as you can when you know you want to start to kick off. But it's been a really fun learning journey, and I think reframing it into a learning journey has been great as well, that it's not going to be perfect off the bat, and what are the things that you want to get really good at in the next month and quarter, and kind of managing expectations that way.
That's wonderful. And I also know that in some cases, one of the things we talked about is what else are there potentially for us to look at. So as you're working with these different models of AI and things like that, are you discovering new things that you're like, oh, maybe I could do that?
Oh, absolutely. Our Asana backlog is like as long as my arm. We're still in, feature build and bug debugging mode, but there's so much you can do when you think about downstream and how you can pull some of the Kaya data in and, reduce that manual burden that we have on our sellers. So the list is endless.
That's fantastic. James, tell us a little bit about what's going on at Indeed Flex. You've got a lot going on over there.
Yeah, it's funny. I think to add on to one thing that Kirsten mentioned is that our product team, as an example, when they're looking at how we can more effectively build our product out, they look at touch points, like number of cases that are opened by a client or by someone on our workforce. And it's just amazing to see, like, the sales team, as we get more data, we should be looking at that the same way. To what you were saying is, like, how can we understand all the different clicks, all the amount of time that people are spending doing very, very manual tasks, things that are not generating opportunities, generating revenue, having business conversations with clients, and really focusing on how we can start to automate and use AI to be able to put more time back in the hands of our sellers so they can be more effective. Some of the ways we're using AI at Indeed Flex, especially as it relates to outreach, we obviously use Kaya. It has been a huge, huge unlock for our teams, being able to go and search in Kaya recordings and understanding, hey, I had a conversation with this client 3 months ago. What were the main pain points that they had? Did they mention who I need to talk to in procurement? So on and so forth. That's been a huge opportunity for us. the other side of it that I think is really, really interesting is as we start to look at, there's qualitative and quantitative. So from a quantitative standpoint, having all the Kaya data in there is really important. From a qualitative standpoint, there's also how can you start to have Kaya be the AI version, but then there's also a certain amount of like strategic vision, the goals that a customer might have, what their plans are over the next 3 months. And I think Outreach does a really amazing job within their account plan of allowing you to have a dashboard, right? So I can see all the Kaya calls, I can see all the recordings, I can also see the account plan, what are the strategic priorities that we have, who are the stakeholders, how much have I been in contact with these stakeholders. You literally have a single pane of glass as a sales leader or as a seller to be able to understand what is happening on an account. And one of the other areas that we're just starting to roll out right now is the revenue agent, which we're very, very excited for. And so being able to Kirsten's point, unlock time for salespeople, and also allow for the messages, the outreach to these customers be much more personalized. So I see you started a new job based on the LinkedIn scraping and the other data points that Outreach is pulling at XYZ company. We would love to have a conversation with you about how our organization is helping our clients, access staff more quickly or whatever it might be for your particular business. And so it makes it so much more personal than just a generic, and we love outreach sequences, obviously, but like this just supercharges sequences, which is so exciting.
You know what? You're speaking my language because obviously you heard my story before. And I mean, it would change the experience of so many customers and prospects by just helping them to understand that you get them. And you understand what their pains and problems are. Now, I heard you say Kaya. I think that you use Kaya too as well, right?
I do.
And that's tell me more.
Yeah, so I think the big win for how I look at it is really just reducing the toggle tax of our sellers. I think it's metaphorical and physical in their computer, the number of things we're asking them to do, tools we're asking them to use, and really consolidating into Outreach being our system of action and making their life that much easier. It's a productivity gain.
You also had mentioned something backstage when we were talking about Smart Assist or Smart Email. Tell me a little bit more about that.
I mean, I love it for my day-to-day. I think it just takes that manual thought process off. And to your point earlier of you're an editor, not an author, I thought that was such a great way to frame it. And it's a productivity lift for myself that I get to save that time of, okay, I got to have the perfect response. And I don't know if it's a millennial thing, but Slack I can shoot off really quick. I will agonize over an email, completely agonize. So it makes that a lot easier.
And by the way, you probably forgot 2 or 3 really important parts that Kaya caught and is able to ensure are included.
You've been so patient.
Well, I was going to +1 on the Smart Email Assist.
Awesome.
My team is using it a lot. I think it was in beta during the last Unleash, and so we've been playing around with it for a while. I'd probably summarize it as 2 major use cases of where my team's getting value. So the first one is it just does a really good job of understanding the context within an email thread, like a back and forth with the customer. So I have a team, a small team of really transactional sellers that are mostly supporting PLG motions, and so there's a lot of just quick back and forth, feature questions, licensing questions, et cetera. And the feedback I'm getting from the reps that are employing that is that they're having dozens of sales cycles simultaneously every single day. So really just allowing them to increase their throughput. And then on the flip side, a completely different use case is using Smart Email Assist as well as other AI tools with my strategic outbound team. So we're leveraging it to do really deep research on things like their title, their persona, industry, company news. It can break into the 10K reports. It can find value and extract it from a video interview or a podcast interview that someone in their C-suite had recently. And it's just creating these incredibly bespoke emails that used to be just what the top 1% of SDRs were doing, and now all of my reps are doing that. And not just for their tier 1 accounts, but all of their accounts. And so it's really up the game. It's been awesome.
That's awesome. I mean, what kind of, so you're seeing good results from it, obviously, or?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I think that just the whole math of, needing to do something different for certain personas, C-level, tier 1 accounts, and then you sort of become more generic and put in less effort as you go down. You don't need to make that trade-off anymore.
That's That's saying a lot right there. I mean, that's a lot of time saved, a lot of efficiency, and a lot better opportunities for your teams to focus on the right stuff, right?
For sure.
Wonderful. So from I kind of like to talk about, I know that you're also looking at the AI agents, right? Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about what made you curious about our AI agents to be able to be interested in trying it out.
Yeah, so we haven't delved too deep into it at the moment, but ultimately I think that's where everything is going, where you're going to apply some sort of agentic workflow to basically replace the things that the SDRs are doing today. So whether that's creating account plans or pre-call plans or even just things like CRM data entry, for example. All those things are just incredibly time consuming, and just deploying agents to give reps that time back is really important. Now, the question is, what are we going to do with that time back? And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, you said the same thing, right? And that's really kind of important to be able to think about, okay, so how do you recalibrate the way you think about the day-to-day experience or the day in the life of your reps based on the time that they now have to do things that they never had time to do. I know that backstage we were even talking about how we're using the AI agent internally with our MQLs. And this was a joint task between our marketing team and our sales team. And RevOps actually owns the AI agent. It's easy enough for them to be able to own it. But we were having issues where our MQLs were coming in too fast and sales weren't able to get to them fast enough. So we set up really personalized experience for our MQLs to get back with them quickly, to be able to keep the conversation going until our rep could get on the phone. And I think that it's making all the difference with our sales team. And RevOps just has to tweak it, right? When they look at the results, they go back, they tweak it, and think about it from that standpoint, because there is a human element in all this, right? We've got to fine-tune these things. Now, that's some pretty amazing initiatives that you all have here. What's next? What are you thinking is the next thing that you want to be considering for AI?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think that's just what's on everyone's mind is what's the future of AI. And if you scroll LinkedIn or Twitter, you're going to hear a million different opinions on it. One interesting one just last week, I'm not sure if any of you guys caught this, but Dario Amodei, who's the CEO of Anthropic, expressed some real concerns over AI and employment. So he actually said that he believes that in the next 5 years, that up to 50% of all entry-level white-collar jobs will be eliminated because of AI. And given that my entire org is entry-level white-collar jobs, I definitely perked up, and I've been thinking about this for a while. And I have a different take on that. Actually, Box's CEO, Aaron Levy, he's a great Twitter follow for anyone if you're interested in AI thought leadership. But he sort of, feels like Dario, and there's a lot others that sort of have those concerns. They don't properly account for this concept known as Jevons paradox. Some of you guys may have heard of it. But essentially what it is like as technology gets more efficient, sort of counterintuitively, we actually end up using more of that thing, and demand actually goes up. So like a classic example is like a government typically thinks that as we roll out new energy efficient technology that we're going to start using less energy. But actually the exact opposite occurs. We're using more energy than ever, and it's just because we come up with new use cases now that energy is less cost prohibitive. And so AI is following this exact same thing, where an SDR is going to be in 5 years, I think 5x, 10x more productive than they are today. And then companies are going to want to hire more SDRs because they're more productive. They're going to want to leverage, and wherever they get leverage, they're going to want to invest where they're seeing the ROI. So I think we're okay. I think it's going to be very disruptive. What we're going to do with that time, I think, is very different. But that's sort of my take. It's a more optimistic one.
You're speaking my language. I was an econ major, so the concept you're talking about also people refer to as creative destruction, right? There are things in an economy that are changing, and you have to reallocate some resources. And so I think that while there are concerns around AI, around what you're talking about, jobs, the ethical use of AI, so on and so forth, at the end of the day, I think to your point, Alex, is if you're making an asset, a resource, right, an SDR, more efficient, more productive, they have a higher productivity, why would you then use less of it, right? You're going to be able to increase your sales funnel, your productivity, and you're going to start to allow those people to just do more with the same amount of hours in the day. Ultimately, it's just giving you a ride-or-die co-pilot that you can sit next to. And I think that, you know, for everyone in this room, like, this is, the CEO of NVIDIA had said, this is, if you're thinking about retiring, don't retire right now. Like, this is the time for organizations and people within their career to make a quantum leap, and that is because of AI. And so the fact that, first of all, you are sitting in this room is step one. Like, you obviously see the value in doing something like this. This is an opportunity for your career, but then also for your organization, because a lot of businesses are going to start focusing on this. And so the question is, are you going to be a first mover and have that quantum leap, or are you really going to be left behind? And I'll tell you that, like, it's not going to be easy. We have at our organization, we have made mistakes as we're rolling out AI, and we have had to be able to tweak in certain areas. And I think a big opportunity for us that I see, you know, someone who's from the product marketing world, is that you've historically had like sales and marketing, and never the two shall meet. And there's always been this like friction that happens, this push and pull between marketing and sales. And is it MQL? Is it SQL? Like, what are we qualifying? What are we not? So on and so forth. And it's interesting, especially as I was watching yesterday, like, outreach is really starting to build an engine that starts to bring those two together.
Absolutely.
It allows truly, finally, I think, for sales and marketing to have so much more cohesion, alignment, and efficiency within the way that they're working. And so I'd really encourage, like, this journey on AI, as you start looking at lead generation and development and nurturing, like, there's an opportunity to bring in B2B marketing. So you have marketing, RevOps, and sales working really hand in hand in identifying where are their opportunities, where are their quick wins. Let's build the Asana board that's an arm length and start to prioritize based on where we think we're going to be able to have the most bang for our buck on these investments.
I would just
go ahead.
I would add to that, really up-leveling the function. So you're offloading some of that early stage, manual, kind of entry-level, low-level work. How are they going to repurpose their time? And that's kind of my goal as I'm going out and selling it to all of our sales dev, reps. And it's funny because we're making the BDR agents, but I also made a PM agent. And I had an existential threat moment of, oh my God, am I replacing my team? But I kind of have to like drink my own Kool-Aid with this one. And no, it's some of the work that's time consuming and maybe not as strategic. And if we can offload it, we should. So we're going down that journey for all of our functions, not just sales dev.
It's amazing, all of the different opportunities we're going to have. And I love how you dug into the sales and marketing connection. I actually believe that outreach can really help bridge those silos where we have had silos before. We don't necessarily have to. If we can agree on how to bring technology in to help fix some of that friction, it'll make all the difference in the world, right? And that's all part of what we want to do, reduce the friction and make everyone much more, make the technology work in service of humans. So pretty excited about that. And all of that to say, I know that we've only got a few more minutes left. So what do you think are the biggest barriers that you're running into as you are trying to roll out some of these different initiatives with AI? What are you running into?
So I don't think the tech is too much of a barrier to adoption, but I do think things like trust and habit and UX friction, I think, make a big difference. So, on the trust piece, like if the rep doesn't trust this output and it sounds sort of generic or off-brand, like they're not going to use it. And they're just going to default to what they know, even if it's slower. So I think it's just our job as leaders. It's incumbent upon us to give them really quick and sort of undeniable wins. So showing them that they can offload the drudgery of their jobs, the stuff that they don't like doing with AI, and then the reps will use AI because they want to, not because I'm asking them to. And then I do think that the workflow fragmentation is a challenge as we explore a lot of different AI tools. Once you have to copy and paste across 5 different tabs, that's like just a no-go. So I love that outreach, really, like the whole ethos and having that single pane of glass and having it built into their workflow so that it's integral to what they're doing every day. I think that makes a huge difference for adoption for sure.
Wonderful, thank you. James?
Yeah, I think Kirsten and I were talking yesterday about the toggle tax.
Yes.
And I think that's a big part of it is how can you make sure, like, there are so many different AI companies out there and so many different, like, point features that you can leverage, and they're all good or to some level of greatness, but then you're asking for salespeople to go from one tab to another or build an integration. We all know integrations never work quite as well as we all hope they would. And so I think one of the things that's really compelling about outreach is you look at all the different features and technologies you have to use within your sales process, Smart Email Assist, scheduling meetings, Kaya recordings, and you have it all in one place, which I think is a really exciting part about it, is you can kind of like a little bit have a one-stop shop, which allows for consistent views across your enterprise about what's happening within your sales funnel, your pipeline, and your deal velocity. I think that the other thing that I'm really thinking about as we're rolling out AI is, I think to your point, Alex, like the importance of trust and the importance of making sure you're investing upfront to get it right. Like AI, essentially what it does, it just predicts the next word, but it predicts based on what it already has within the database. And there's a world of information out there. And so really making sure as you're setting these things up that you're putting the time into ensuring that you are setting it up correctly, feeding it the right information, battle testing it, making sure that the emails are not too long, making sure they are relevant, making sure they're punchy and thoughtful and the subject line is good. All of those different things. Like you can't just say, hey, use my value proposition and write an email to a customer. Like, it will do that, and it will be correct, but it's not going to be very compelling. And so really, like, tweaking the prompts and tweaking the way that you're actually trying to message it can be super critical and impactful. And that's where, again, go to marketing. Like, they're a big stakeholder in that, right? They own the brand. They own the messaging to the market. And so including them in that, I think, is a really critical part and can help, by the way, bring everyone on board and get more buy-in overall in the organization for the direction you're trying to take the business.
Excellent.
I absolutely agree. It's with the data, garbage in, garbage out. I think building for scale is easier said than done, and what works in one segment is going to bomb in another, and what works in a mayor might bomb in APJ. So really having the right level of customization when you're building it out and having all of those nuances taken into consideration. And outside of that, just how cross-functional in nature it is, as you kind of mentioned too. You need IT, you need someone, we have like a growth incubation team, and they're really hooked in with us. Absolutely legal. So the number of different functions that need to be involved for it to be successful, you have to have that like top-down support to make sure you have all of the right functions supporting it.
I absolutely agree with that. And one of the things that you had mentioned integration. We have an integration with Databricks.
We do, Delta sharing.
You want to tell a little bit about that?
And I know it's tough sometimes. You want to do DIY reporting on what you have in outreach, and we have Databricks has Delta sharing that allows you to export all of your data. You can use AI BI if you so wish, whatever BI tool you have, and really allows you to build out whatever view you need. I know we are really big on, I call it touch density. So what's the right amount of touch per prospect that you need, and touch density will look different for a person in a tiny account versus a big enterprise account, and different persona types. So being able to have that data at our fingertips and understand what our touch density looks like has been an absolute game changer.
Our organization runs a consumption model, and so the idea of like having really, really thoughtful like forecasts around like, hey, once I sign a contract, it's done, like is very difficult. We use Snowflake, but like one of the things that I've realized from this session, we've had some of our RevOps team, what's up Indeed Flex RevOps team here, and they were like, hey, we didn't even know that you could integrate with Snowflake. And so now we're thinking about like, how can you build this so that you can see, hey, this customer has decreased their usage of the product over the course of the last couple of months. Boom, put a trigger in, and that trigger is going to automatically put them into an AI sequence. Like, mind blown, first of all. Second of all, if you are one of one of two, one of three people that is here, you're drinking the outreach Kool-Aid. Like, you're probably just as excited about this as I am. Like, challenge to you, go, and how can you like expand the tent here and bring more people and get more people excited into what is happening? So when you leave this room, like really be thinking about, okay, what's my strategy gonna be to be able to start to evangelize some of these opportunities within my business a little bit more and bring in some other owners? That would be like a big thing I think that's an opportunity for everyone in this room as you're leaving today.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. You guys have been amazing. Thank you so very much for your time today and for sharing with our audience here. Let's give them a big hand.